Well, hello. Thanks for joining me for another weekly vision update. My name is Josh. I'm one of the pastors at the Christian Life Center, and each week we talk a little bit about where we are going and why we are going there. So when we think about the word vision, it just means a preferred future, right? And in the scriptures in Proverbs 29:18, very wise man tells us that where there is no vision or where there's no revelation, meaning from God, people cast off restraint, meaning they lose focus and get distracted and get easily occupied. But where there is no vision or revelation, people cast off restraint. But blessed, happy are those who keep the law, stay focused on what's ahead of them. And so each week we talk a little bit about where we're heading and why we are heading there. And man, is there a lot of stuff I'd really like to share, and yet we're still making sure that we've done the appropriate amount of aiming and considering and praying and fasting and processing and all those things. So not quite ready to tell you all about the new frontier that we're heading into, but I will tell you a little bit about it. You have been hearing about this last couple of weeks. One, I told you a couple weeks ago that I'm really excited about 2021, and some of that is because I turned 40. There's a really neat reason to be excited about the number 40 in the scriptures. It's a number that represents kind of the end of waiting and preparation, and I'm about to experience whatever it is. So personally excited about that. And I share with you last week that what we're really thinking about is how do we equip the saints, that's you and I. And the scripture says God gives apostles, prophets, evangelists, shepherds, and teachers, as Ephesians 4, to equip the saints for the work of ministry. So we're trying to really go, Lord, what is it you want our church family to do? Not what do you want the elders to do, not what you want the staff to do, not even what you want the volunteers to do, but what do you want your body and of believers, your local church family, to do for the work of ministry? Why? Because it certainly seems like there's lots of stuff to be done in our world right now. And there's lots of pain, lots of sorrow, lots of complications. And many, if not most of you listening to this, are very eager to figure out how you and I can actually make a real difference and impact in our world, meet tangible needs, all those things. So we're going, okay, Lord, what is it you're up to? In light specifically of the craziness that is 2020, 2021 with COVID-19, the limitations that puts particularly on how we use our facilities and gather together, which has been kind of a very important part of church ministry for the last 295 years for us. People have gathered together, and while there's always been a focus on scattering after the gathering, a large portion has been on how do we gather together as a church family? How do we encourage one another and worship God and be reminded of Christ's power through his Holy Spirit in us and Christ's mission to the world through us, right? Get excited about all those things. And right now in 2021, it's kind of hard to gather. In fact, not even a tenth of our church family is typically here on a Sunday morning right now worshiping with us. And so we're trying to figure out how do we love each other, care for each other, support each other, and call each other to go be the hands and feet of Jesus in light of it being really hard to hold our weekly pep rallies. Right? And so, well, the good news is that there's precedent for this. And all the way back in the scriptures and in the first century, we find lots of people who love Jesus, who are the church, and discover that for the most part, a lot of them, it becomes pretty difficult for them to gather in large groups, particularly because it's illegal in the first century to gather in groups. They could be thrown in prison or, executed for their participation in this crazy movement called the gospel of Jesus Christ, right? And so there's precedent, and even more than precedent, there's really neat results in the first, second, third century of the church. While it's illegal to do this, could have been thrown in the Colosseum to fight lions for real, and yet the church grew in ways that from the outside looking in don't make a lot of sense. But there's one particular thing that the church focused on. In fact, it was the only thing it seems like they focused on. This thing was the thing that made all the other things happen, from meeting the needs of the community to knowing more about Jesus, to becoming more like Jesus, to be rooted more in Jesus, to have greater community with Jesus and people. And that word is the word disciple, right? Really, really important word. And can't wait for the next several weeks, months, to kind of unpack that word, how we go about being and becoming and making disciples, and all the stuff we kind of got working in the background right now to prepare for that. But we're not quite ready. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't already be thinking about discipleship and disciple making, and not already put our hand to the plow, right, and get going. And so as you're waiting and preparing for what we believe God has for us this year, just want to offer you some counsel and encouragement of how you can right now, today, participate in discipleship, right? In disciple making and becoming a disciple. How you can participate in that big, crazy word, disciple. And while we'll unpack this more fully over the next couple of weeks, and I mentioned to you last week, for many of you, I'd love for you to consider really doubling down this year and leaning all the way in. I just want to offer a quick little talk by Matt Chandler on disciple making, discipleship, disciple becoming. And so quick 4 minutes that I want to play for you right here as we're together. So would you join me as we watch this together?
There are a few things for me personally that are more exciting than seeing someone become a Christian, like move from death to life, as Paul would say in Colossians 1, to watch someone be transferred out of the domain of darkness and into the kingdom of his beloved Son. I love that, and yet conversion, as exciting as it isn't the command that we've been given. The command that we've been given is to make disciples or followers of Jesus Christ. So although we rejoice anytime the Spirit of God opens the heart of someone to believe and they surrender their lives to Him, what we're wanting to see happen, what we give our lives to, is disciple making, longing, praying, hoping for people to become followers of Jesus Christ. And although I think when we talk this way, I think people tend to have this picture of kind of this international adventure where you've got to get on an airplane, you've got to fly to the other part of the world to be a part of disciple making or missions. And I want to try to encourage you in this quick little video that God has uniquely wired you and uniquely placed you right now where you are to make disciples. And although God will call many to hop on planes and go to unreached and go to other countries, for most of us, He's put us right where we are. He's uniquely wired us. He's uniquely placed us. And He's invited us into what He will do for us. We need only be obedient and join what He is up to. I've oftentimes described this as God kind of invites us to go to work with Him. It's this kind of cosmic go to work with Dad day. And some of the practical ways we can participate in disciple making is one, living a life of hospitality, opening our home and inviting people into our home as if they were families. This can be those who are in church with us as we speak life into maybe widows, singles, those who are in difficult seasons. This can be unbelievers that we're having into our home. We're just treating them like family. We're just showing them the love that God has shown us. We're showing them the hospitality that God has shown us. We also evangelize. We want to open our mouths and tell people about the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ. We want to help people see that a lot of the struggles that they experience are actually sins committed against a holy God and are out of step with God's creative design for them, and be able to show them here's the more beautiful way. And the first part of lining up with this beautiful way is to surrender our lives to Jesus Christ, as He has paid for these sins, not struggles, and has made a way for us to be reconciled with God. And then the last thing is just be faithful where you are. And recently at the Village Church, there was a woman who shared her testimony. She has 4 little boys, stay-at-home mom, and began to just kind of encourage and love the woman who had 2 little kids next door to her. And so when you think about kind of global impact. Most of the times you're not thinking about a stay-at-home mom with 4 little boys, and yet this woman just faithfully loved her neighbor, showed hospitality to her neighbor, began to share the gospel with her neighbor where she was, doing the thing that God had called us to do. And she saw her neighbor give her life over to Jesus Christ. And if you could consider all of us in all the domains that we're playing in, at work, at home, in our neighborhoods, in the places that we play, carrying with us the hospitality of God, the good news of the gospel on our lips, being faithful where we are. You're looking at a recipe that what you see in the Bible leads to the transformation of souls, areas, towns, communities, cities, and ultimately the world. And so let me encourage you to use your life and the days of your life seeking to make disciples of all men and women across all nations on the earth, starting exactly where you are today.
Did you catch that? You can actually participate in becoming, and making a disciple today. Real quick, 3 quick thoughts from Matt Chandler, the pastor of Village Church in Texas. First is, live a life of hospitality. Could you be gracious and kind to those around you? Treat everyone like family. Think about people you can serve in your neighborhood. Right now, what a great day to shovel some snow or clean off a sidewalk for someone right next to you. Could you think about practicing hospitality? Second one is, could you evangelize? What he said, that literally open your mouth and share this good news. And this doesn't mean you're knocking on doors, ask people where they're going, if they die. You have to do that. Wouldn't recommend that. What I mean by this, what I would encourage you to do, is give Jesus credit for the good stuff in your life. Celebrate him. Talk about the goodness, even with your kiddos, as we look at the beauty of the snow, and as we're eating a meal around our table, as we're logging on to the internet or cutting on our TV. God has been really, really, really gracious to us. So let's give him credit for the good things in our life, right? And the third one is, be faithful where you are, right? Which means today, right this second, wherever you are, you can participate in being and making a disciple. When you're at work, on Zoom, you can participate in being and making disciples. In your group text threads, you can participate in speaking life and making disciples. And so would you consider those things? Let's practice some hospitality. Let's actually open our mouths and share the good news about what Jesus has done in our lives and through our lives. And then would you look for opportunities right where you are today to see them as an opportunity for you to go and participate in disciple making and disciple becoming. So, not quite ready to invite you into the some of the plan we have going on for this year, but do want to encourage you to start participating now and consider what level of interest and commitment are you interested in participating, making, becoming, and being disciples right now. If this is something you're ready to get going on, would you just let me know? Email me, josh@clcfamily.church. Text us, 610-869-2140. Call us, 610-869-2140, and say, I'm ready. Would really like to be included in whatever this first phase of disciple making is. Love, love, love to hear from you. Going to be a really good time. Where there is no revelation, people cast off restraint. But hear me. There is plenty of revelation that God is giving to his church, the Christian Life Center, the global church right now. And so we're going to be blessed because we're going to follow and keep his law and words. So thanks for joining me. Love you all. Don't be a stranger. If there's any way that we can serve you or practice hospitality with you and your family, would you let us know? Again, all the channels, social media channels, our website channels, text 610-869-2140, or email josh@clcfamily.church. Love you all. Be safe, be well, and enjoy the gifts that God has given you today.